Just wanted to talk, that's all.
All right, here we go. Winter meetings time. I am live from North Carolina. We got Terrence Kehm out here live from LA, and all eyes are on Dallas, Texas, where the winter meetings are going down. And we've got Juan Soto eking towards a decision. The latest news is that the Yankees appear to be the most confident. This is from John Heyman, and the Yankees are supposedly the most confident.
I can't even believe it.
But how you feeling about things, T? I don't think I ever asked you, like, do you even want Juan Soto back, or do you want to spread it around?
It's a very interesting question. I've actually been going back and forth a lot about this with my dad, who he's kind of in the boat of it's just getting to bonkers numbers of a contract. We're talking about 700 plus million, which, by the way, I think earlier in the season, Derek, we talked about it briefly, and I was already in the boat that I thought it was going to be 14 years, 700 million for 50 a year. That was kind of my expectation, just because he's a Boris guy, and Boris is going to want to match the Otani contract and the whole, all of that. It is getting absolutely nuts. The way that I read it, the situation right now is that the report was that it's Yankees and Mets, and it's between 710 and 730, and the Mets have a little bit better of an offer. So the way that I'm reading that is the Mets have 730 down, the Yankees have 710 down.
Yeah, that's
And
the way
it's
I'm looking at
between
it,
those,
too.
and that's between those two teams. I think the Jays, I think the Dodgers, I think the Red Sox are out. I don't think the Red Sox are gonna go in this direction.
Let me throw this at you. Multiple times during the season, Soto would have a great game, and we would be sitting here like, pay that guy his money, yada, yada, yada. And people would be like, well, Yankees have got to re-sign him. And then other people are like, well, what if Cohen offers $500 million? What if Cohen goes to $550? We're approaching $750 million. At some point, somebody's going to get $1 billion contract.
Oh yeah.
I find this absolutely astonishing. This just stupefying, the amount of money that they're willing to pay for a single player. If you get Soto for $50 million a year for the next 15 years, that absolutely it ties you into an enormous deal, which could hamper your payroll. What if he has some kind of a situation where he has to DH? Like, let's say he injures his foot, can't run anymore, or hurts his throwing arm but can still hit, and he has to DH for a while. Well, you got Stanton there for 3 years, still locked into a contract. So, it's nuts, man. It's risky. It's very risky.
I totally hear what you're saying. For me, defensively, also there's going to be a problem with Judge because, like, ideally, it's really funny because Stanton, I love Stanton. The guy's a monster in the playoffs, and he's handled New York super well and all this stuff. But it's an awkward fit on the team because let's just say, for sake of argument for a second, that Stanton, he was a free agent now. This past season was the final year of his contract. Yes, that would have opened up some money, obviously, but just as a roster fit-wise, then you would have just rotated Judge and Soto between the right field and DH position. You just would have kept rotating that through like that. And that would have been a much better fit for the team. Now, Stan, I believe, has, 3 years left on his deal now?
3, but with the caveat, let me throw this caveat in there. The way that the trade was structured, the Marlins are paying most of his salary for the last 3 years. So the Yankees get him for like $5 or $10 million in the last couple of years of that deal. So let's say he falls off, bad. It might get to the point. He obviously had a humongous postseason, and we're not going to complain about Giancarlo Stanton. He put us in the World Series. He was the ALCS
100%.
MVP.
Yep.
But let's be realistic. Nobody is undefeated against Father Time. And let's say, he continues to deteriorate physically, where it gets to the point where he's basically like Jacoby Ellsbury or something, where it's like, okay, you stick him on the IL. If he's around for the playoffs and able to hit, great. You try and get him some at-bats. But I could see that being the case the last couple of years of that contract. By the way, I've got MLB Network going, and we've got a Twitter feed right here going. So I'm going to keep track of all the news I can. But if you guys see anything in the chat, feel free to drop it, and we'll talk about it. We're going to be here for a while. Typically, when I do a live stream, I like to do 20, 30 minutes, something like that. Just make it digestible. But this is more of like a watch party, right? So we're just going to sit here all night, and we might do it for the next few nights where we do 2-3 hours a night and just, kind of see what happens. I'm sure there will be deals other than the Yankees, too. We can talk about those. We've got the board. This is the big board, which we will go to now, where we have all the different players, well, most of the different players that people have been discussing. And we'll have a ticker with news as it happens. So stick around, and as Captain Johnny Bravo says, please, no fake news. We don't need any fake news here. We're going to do our best to make sure anything that gets put on screen or promoted is truthful, is reputable, is from an actual source, an actual writer. So we'll see. But I think the Juan Soto decision is coming tonight, and I want to be live for it.
Yeah, I feel like pretty good about that. If anything, I think tomorrow morning would be. Sorry, there's a helicopter out there. It's like Grand Theft Auto out here. But anyway, I think it's pretty reasonable to believe it's gonna, because the winter meetings like officially start tomorrow. And I think that it could really be any minute now. I literally have like Jeff Passan's Twitter feed like refreshing constantly right now. On my Twitter screen here, and like the Juan Soto, the number one sports trending topic right now, the Mets that are in there too. I think it's hilarious too. The past few days, like all the Red Sox fans and the Met fans and Jays fans, Yankee fans, everyone's like, Juan Soto signs like $2 billion contract. Like all this misinformation is kind of hilarious to me. I've kind of like mentally turned it off until I see like a Ken Rosenthal or a Buster Olney or a Passan like report the news. Like I'm not going to buy into anything yet.
So speaking of Rosenthal, I'm in meetings with him. I'm one of the producers on Fair Territory, which is his podcast with the Foul Territory Network. And I see Joel Sherman coming on right now, so we'll see if he's reporting any news. But on Thursday it was, we had a production meeting, and Ken and I chat back and forth in the Slack, which is our little chat. And on my parting shot was, Ken, if you hear anything on Soto, feel free to, leak it to your favorite Yankees podcaster. You know what his response was? LOL.
Yeah.
So that was neither a confirmation or a denial that he will leak it to me. But I don't anticipate that Ken's first move will be to text me. I think it will be to go ahead and tweet it out. But we'll see.
Yeah, Luke WS, do you think that the Red Sox stuff was made up completely or planted by Boris? No, I think the Red Sox were dead serious about signing him. I think that their fan base is incredibly annoyed, pissed off with their ownership. The Fenway Sports Group, they got a piece of like the Arsenal soccer team over in Europe, the Pittsburgh Penguins. They have a very diluted ownership group now, and they've kind of like neglected the Red Sox, kind of their bread and butter of the ownership group, right? And they let Mookie Betts walk. That deal looks awful now. So I think that their fan base is really pissed off. So I definitely think that this was them kind of trying to sort of recuperate a little bit of that. I definitely think it was for real, but I just don't think the Red Sox are willing to swim in the waters that it's gotten to now.
And Heyman is saying that the Red Sox don't seem as confident right now, which I find huge. Like a lot of times, people will tell you how they're feeling just from their body language. You know, if you ask somebody, and these writers are familiar with that. You ask somebody, how their relationship is going, and they touch their face. It's not going well. It's not going well. You know what I mean? Yeah. So if you ask somebody like, how's the Juan Soto deal going? We're confident. We're feeling pretty good. So we'll see. I agree with Donnie Clark here, who says it's going to come down to Mets and Yankees. I think that being a star on the Mets, like they already have Francisco Lindor, which, I forgot to mention yesterday when I was doing my show. I said that the Mets don't have any stars. I'd put him as a star, but not as a superstar, right? He's not Aaron Judge level. He's not Shohei Ohtani level. He's a really good player. He's an MVP candidate. But you're talking about the best of the best. And I think Juan Soto's head and shoulders above Lindor as a star. Might not be as a total player because Lindor's a great defender. But what do you agree with that? Do you think that Soto would be the instant number 1A star?
Yeah, no, I think that immediately Juan Soto is the man on the Mets. I think that has a little bit to do with there's a little bit of an age thing there as well. So Soto's younger. But But I definitely think immediately Juan Soto is the man on the Mets. Now on the Yankees, he's obviously going to have to like wait a few years. But this contract, if we're talking about 14 years, eventually he's gonna be the face of the franchise. And I think that the Yankees are they're an organization that kind of always needs a face of the franchise. You know, it was obviously Derek Jeter for a long time. And then when Jeter retired, it was sort of Robinson Cano, and then he left, and then the Yankees didn't really have a face. And there was a little bit of a transitional period then, and then Aaron Judge came up and he kind of took the world by storm and became the face of the franchise. I think it's important that the Yankees constantly have that.
Well, Jeter was still on the team, through what, 2016 or something like
14,
that.
retired
14, something like. And
so
then,
it was in 2014 he retired,
and then Judge was 2016, 2017 he really became the face.
2017 was his rookie year, but I'm saying like at the end of Jeter's career, he obviously wasn't. He was still Derek Jeter, but he wasn't
still the
gonna be
face, right?
He was still the face of the franchise. But Robinson Cano had kind of emerged as the best player on the team, but they had a little bit of a transitional. Like 2015, 2016, they signed like Carlos Beltran, and that was like, and then they had like A-Rod with like a ripped up hip or whatever. So.
Let's look at the 2015 Yankees. Let's just take a look here. Let's.
It was an interesting time. 2015 New York Yankees.
87 and 75.
All right, about 500.
Then Teixeira, Dylan Betances, who was on the show not too long ago.
Yeah.
Brett Gardner, I think, was probably one of the faces. Didi. Yeah. You know what? Masahiro Tanaka might have been that guy. They signed him in 2014. He was the guy that I was wearing all the shirts for and stuff. He was my face of the team back then. Yeah. This was, Brian McCann era. 26 home runs that year. Mark Teixeira was still
Kobe Ellsbury. Good. Stephen Drew. Oh, the GOAT.
God, awful.
Chase Headley.
He hit 17 home runs that year.
Yeah.
But he hit 201. Wow. Chase Headley. I almost forgot he existed.
Yeah.
Brett Gardner, 259, 16 home runs. I always thought he should have stolen more bases. 20 stolen bases as a 31-year-old. Oh, man. And this was A-Rod. I think he had a bounce back year that year. It was like right after the suspension, and he hit 250.
If I'm not mistaken, that was the year that we made the wild card and lost to the Astros in the one-game elimination against Dallas Keuchel because he shoved. Is that right?
Yep. So A-Rod had 2014 off. He was suspended. He comes back in 2015, hits 33 home runs, and then 2016 just kind of fell off. It was negative 1.2 WAR, only 9 home runs, only a 200. Yeah. I'm glad he hit 200 and not 199 that year. That would have pissed me off. But,
but yeah, that was an interesting time. But just all in all with Soto, I think that the numbers are getting nuts. What I do think, Derek, you can let me know what you think about this. I think it's almost a lock that there's going to be a work stoppage in when the collective bargaining agreement expires.
It's looking scary because a lot of fans now are starting to clamor for, some kind of salary cap. Look, the Royals were really good this year, right? They were a playoff team, and they really could have beat the Yankees, but they're not even involved in any of the big. They're not ideally, if it was MLB The Show and you had a team if you were controlling the Royals and you were that close, you're like, fuck, I'm gonna go get Soto, I'm gonna get Burns, I'm gonna put my team over the top. They don't have that option. They can't afford it.
They locked up Bobby Witt already too.
They did, but they really can't do much else, and they're trying to get a new stadium and all that stuff. That maybe that'll allow them to spend more. But I'm just talking in general. There are teams that are on the precipice that just are not competitive for these big names like Burns and part of that is I don't think a lot of big stars want to go take their fame to Kansas City, right? No, it's no shot at Kansas City, but it's just not a huge market for endorsements and things like that. I'm sure there are some people who wouldn't mind it, but LeBron, there's a reason he went from Cleveland to Miami and then from Cleveland to LA. Bigger markets. If you're a star, you want to be where the star power is, where the business is, and I just think there's something to that.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I feel like that just kind of depends on the sport. Just because baseball is such a regional sport, I think that applies. Obviously, the NFL is like a totally different animal. The best quarterback in the NFL plays for the Kansas City Chiefs. It's not exactly like a huge market.
That's a great point. But there's a lot of parity in football too. I mean, there's a lot of.
I think that it just depends on the sport, but I think that if you're going to do a salary cap, you have to have a salary floor. I don't want the Oakland A's spending $30 million on their payroll anymore. I mean, that's just absolutely absurd. I think that maybe I'm just going to throw a random number out here, Derek, but salary floor being 100 million and the salary cap being 300 million, and you have to be within that $200 million like window right there. I feel like that would be a good place to start. And you could definitely be on the upper echelon. But I mean, dude, when you're looking at like what the Dodgers are doing and they're just like assembling all the Infinity Stones, I mean, they're looking like the Avengers over there. And with all the deferred money, the Guggenheim Group, so the group that owns the Dodgers, those are all like financial investor guys, right? Who are really good with money and manipulating money and being able to invest their money and making good profit on it. So Shohei Ohtani has $68 million deferred. All the money that Shohei brings in, I'm almost positive like that 1 year of that money, if they really wanted to, they could just take that money, put it away, invest it, make even more money back, and then pay all the deferred money off later on. They're basically getting these players for free if you want to think about it that way, essentially, just because of the way that they're going to structure the way they invest the money.
I mean, if you look at who owns that team, it's like a hedge fund of math. I used to work at a hedge fund. These guys, like their life is numbers the way ours is baseball, right? They look at spreadsheets for fun. They sit there, over breakfast with their iPad looking at the stocks and stuff, right? Like we're reading baseball, like The Athletic or whatever. They're reading like, market trends and things like that. They know banking, they know money, and that's the entire group that's running the Dodgers right now. So, we'll see how it shakes out. I want to throw something at you as we look at the big board here. I asked this question to Robert Murray, the MLB insider from Arizona, and Scott Braun the other day. Who says no? Marcus Stroman for Jordan Montgomery?
Oh, I definitely do that. 100% I do that, yeah.
Do you think the Diamondbacks would do it? They want to get rid of Montgomery.
Well, I mean, their owner said like some pretty damning things about it. He kind of devalued him right there. What is he making? Like $22 million a year, I think. And they said they're willing to eat. They're saying they're willing to eat money. And Marcus Stroman has 1 year of 18.5, I believe. So the money is almost the same. Yeah, I would definitely do it. 100%, I would do it. How many years does he have left? Let me look that up real quick. But
Jordan Montgomery? 1.
Yeah, his contract is he's got like a bunch of opt-outs too, so he can like opt out of the contract. So yeah, $22.5 million, and then he's a free agent. He's a free agent next year. So you're signing him to a 1 year contract essentially if you're going to do that. So basically it's 1 year for Stroman or 1 year for Montgomery, and the money would be about the same because you could get the Diamondbacks to eat some money. So yeah, I would do it.
I agree with you. So we got a super chat here that I want to read from Will Danes. He says, I love Soto. Would you rather have Soto or a combination of Fried, Bregman, Santander? Would that make sense, or would it make the Yankees lineup better than just adding Soto? It's just the tandem of Judge and Soto is so good, right? It's so good that you could almost add 2 players and it wouldn't make, the Yankees as good. But if you go out and get Fried, I don't think they're going to get Bregman, but
no,
go get Fried, go get Bellinger,
I don't want Bregman that way.
Yeah, I know a lot of Yankees fans don't want to.
I don't want him.
If you miss out on Soto, right? I think the Yankees can still be just as good or close to as good, if not better. You go add Fried to the rotation or Burns, one of those two. You add Bellinger for the outfield. Bellinger's an elite defender. He goes to center field. That makes the right field and center field defense better, right? And it gives you the lefty bat. And Dominguez slides into left field. Dominguez is going to be better than Verdugo offensively. He won't be as good defensively, I don't think, but he's not going to be anywhere near as bad as he was last year. So right there, you're better at 2 outfield positions, and you're better in the rotation, right? Now you sign Christian Walker for first base. Problem is he's a little bit long in the tooth. I worry about signing a guy who's in his 30s, but he's still got really good metrics. So as long as he doesn't fall off a cliff, the next 2 years he should be okay. I would give him a 3-year deal and hope that you get 2 really good years out of him before he starts to trail off, right?
I think he probably wants at least a 5-year deal. I don't think you'd go for a 3-year deal.
Good luck getting a 5-year deal as a 33-year-old first baseman.
But I think he wants to be locked up until 38 years old. I think somebody will give him.
Wish in one hand and shit in the other and see what fills up first. But and then you got second base hole. We talked a lot about moving Jazz back to second base. I mean, you could leave Jazz at third base, but basically the world is your oyster there, whether you want to go out and get a second baseman. I think you might be able to get Nico Horner from the Cubs
Yeah.
in the Bellinger deal, and he's kind of like a little contact guy.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you got Durbin, who a lot of Yankees fans are like super high on, but his average exit velocity is 83 miles an hour. That kind of scares me a little bit. So, I don't know.
I mean,
We'll
yeah,
see.
Caleb Durbin, I'm not really. Is he going to be Jose Altuve? The guy's like 5'8". I mean,
I don't think so. He doesn't hit the ball as hard.
I hate Jose Altuve. Like, I hate that guy so much. Respect, great player, but he cheated. But I hate that guy. But I mean, there's only one guy in baseball history who's been like 5'8" or smaller and who's been a great player.
Well, Yogi. How tall was Yogi? He was like 5'3".
Yeah, but
a different era.
I'm talking about
modern
about
baseball.
the modern era here.
Fair.
Talking about like when you're facing 100-mile-an-hour heaters. Look, if you don't get Soto, I asked a buddy of mine who's a big Braves fan, like Max Fried, should I be excited about that? And I mean, like, yeah, he's great when he's on the mound, so he's hurt a lot. So it's like he sounds like a Yankee already. But
well,
the thing is,
I'm going to pull up his Statcast numbers while you talk about him, because he did make 29 starts this year, so it's a little bit unfair.
So he generally, in the past, I think, has been hurt, but he's had a healthy year. Look, he's a great pitcher. 6'4", 190, so he's really wiry. That might be a problem in terms of usually guys that are wiry like that have more of an issue staying healthy. I don't know what kind of money he would command. It's got to be in the at least $30 million range. Part of me feels like I don't see why he would leave Atlanta. I don't know why Atlanta doesn't want to spend the money to retain their guy. They have a very manageable payroll. Like a lot of their superstar players are not making a ton of money. And it's a pretty big market. They do quite well. I feel like, but maybe because they lost a regional sports network, weren't they Bally for a while and they just went bankrupt?
Yeah. But they also that should be thought of as kind of a red flag too. I think that the Braves, a team that's notorious for locking up young guys, passed on him, right? Mm-hmm. As you see my messy office, we're a little bit messy tonight. We got the iPad going. We got the hoodies in the back in case it gets cold. I might have to get up at some point because we're going to be here for a few hours. You know, this is really going to be a test of the bladder. Actually, let me tell you this, TK. This is my flu game. This is my Michael Jordan flu game. I don't have the flu, but about a month ago, on November 7th, a month and a day ago, I got diagnosed with diabetes. And I mean, I've been eating like dog shit for years, and I was 5'10", 210 pounds, and I kind of figured like I was losing some feeling in my feet. That's why I went to the doctor. And my A1C, which is your average sugar over the last 3 months, was 11. So it was like, and it's supposed to be in like the 5 range or whatever. Yeah. That's like normal. Yeah. And so they were like, yeah, you're going to go blind if you don't stop drinking 12 Dr. Peppers a day. So I was like, all right, well, so I gave up sugar, and I've been on this medicine for the last month, and I've lost like 12 pounds, but I just got onto a different medicine on Thursday. It's like they up the dose, they ease you in, and it makes you really nauseated. So I've been like sick all day. I've been nauseated all day. I haven't been able to really eat. And so I was just kind of I was like, man, I hope I feel good to go on this show. So what I did was I pounded a couple of coffees beforehand, and now I'm like, I'm ready to rock.
Hey, listen, you got to run an ad to go to the bathroom. We can manage. But hold on a second. TKO_23. We know that Altuve did not cheat, but he did allow his teammates to cheat. Stop it.
He cheated.
Stop.
He cheated.
He
was
cheated.
He was wearing a buzzer too. I will go to my fucking grave. He wore a buzzer.
Dude, that motherfucker cheated, all right? I'm sorry, cheated, period. There's evidence for it. You can look at the videos where they concentrated on the trash can and then the no trash can, then he hits a nuke like the next. Cheated, period, End of discussion, all right? It's over. It's behind us. I don't think that's the whole reason why the Yankees lost. They didn't hit in Houston as well. They didn't hit either, but it certainly didn't help them. He cheated, period, End of discussion. Yeah, I'll go to my grave as well about 2019 with this thing. That I know for a fact there was some.
I agree.
Some weird
I agree with you.
On. But just wanted to say, Mike Puma just reported that Juan Soto will make his decision on which team he will sign next within tonight. So Mike Puma is reporting that he heard from a league source that he will make his decision tonight. Now it's 5:25 Pacific time, 8:30 East Coast time.
7:30
Dallas time. Dallas. So that's Central Time, I think, right? So I would probably think in the next couple hours we're gonna have
Yeah,
an answer.
we're gonna
By
be
tomorrow
here.
morning when you wake up, you'll know where he's going, I think.
Yeah, I'm psyched. I'm psyched. Look, I'm not one of those people who's going to be heartbroken if he chooses the Mets. Like, I will be a little bit surprised at this point because I feel like the Yankees have the edge. I always thought that it would be like 600 million would be the top. I was like, Cohen's going to offer him 600 million. If someone wants to dig back through the podcast from the last year, which would take forever. At one point, I remember saying, I just think Steve Cohen's going to offer him 600 million. And how do you say no to that? Because Hal won't swim in those waters. Well, now it sounds like the Yankees are playing chicken. Like, if you're offering 730, why not? I mean, if you're offering 710 and they're offering 730, why not just offer 730, right? But at some point, you have to make your best final. Like, if you buy a house, there'll be like a point where there's negotiation between the two sides. And eventually, the people who own the house or the company that owns the house will say, give me your best final because we want to accept a deal. We want to make a decision. So what is going to happen is Scott Boras will say, Soto's ready to make a decision. We want to make a splash at the winter meetings. Give me your best final. And so there's going to be a little bit of back and forth. Like, it wouldn't shock me if like that already happened and he's reviewing those. And now, we'll see where we're at.
I definitely think that as well. I think that honestly at this point, if this is how I'm reading it, right, Derek, where it's the Yankees and the Mets, the final two. All right, those are the final two with the rose, with like the Bachelor or whatever, and they're just like, you got to give a rose to one more team. That's it. Those are the last two teams in this thing. All right, and then we got the Yankees at 710 and the Mets at 730, and I think most likely that's what it is. To me, it's like, dude, here's $710 million. You beat Ohtani. Do you want to be a Yankee or not? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I understand the Mets are offering you $20 more million and it's all about the money. But at this point, you broke the record, man. You broke the Ohtani record. You got more money than him. At this point, if you're somebody who makes a lot of money and you're somebody who makes $40 million a year like Aaron Judge does, or you're going to make $50 million a year, close to $50 million a year like Juan Soto does, honestly, in terms of like your life and how you live, there's no difference in that. Now, I understand that players don't think that way, and for them, it's all an ego thing, and it's a measuring stick, and this amount of money means that I'm this much of a better player than you. That's how players think, okay? But at this point, we're at a point now where we're offering you $710 million. You beat Ohtani's contract. Do you want to be a Yankee or not? I feel like that's got to be the final best offer. And if he picks the Mets at 730, then to me, I think he probably just didn't want to be a Yankee that bad.
Right. It's going to come down to where he wants to be. So who is Mike Puma, by the way? I've never heard of him. Is that like a real?
Yeah, he's like a beat reporter for the Mets. He's got like 100,000 followers on Twitter or on X. Yeah, 109,000. But he's an author. He's the Mets beat reporter for the New York Post since 2010. So it's a pretty credible source. And then, he just tweeted out 15 minutes ago, the best guess from a league source is Juan Soto will reach his decision tonight. Listen, guys, nobody knows anything except for Juan Soto, Scott Boras, and the owners of each team and the GMs. That's it. Everything else is fakta, and you don't really know. Now, there's better sources than others, but no one knows for sure other than those people.
Yeah, and I do think that the league will have some insight because there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes when there's a big announcement. They might be in contact with like Scott Boras, be like, hey, do we need to like reserve the ballroom for a press conference tonight? Do it. But I doubt even if Soto has a decision tonight that there'll be any kind of like press conference or anything like that.
No.
You know what bothers me is that when the Yankees got Soto, it was a Zoom call. I think we even talked about this last year. It was some silly little Zoom call. If he re-signs with the Yankees for $700 million or something, I want the jersey. I want the press conference. I really hope that someone is doing some kind of a behind-the-scenes documentary or something about this because this is going to be one of the more fascinating bidding wars or free agencies in Major League Baseball history, maybe for the next decade. I mean...
Yeah. I definitely think, Derek, that if he does re-sign, they're going to do like what they did with Judge. Judge got announced as the captain, obviously, and that's not going to happen, but There's definitely gonna
What
be,
if it did? What
co-captains.
No.
Yeah,
They take it from Judge. Like
yeah,
you want
give it
it,
to
you want
Soto.
it back. Hit 250 in the playoffs.
No, that's not gonna happen. But they're gonna put the press conference in Yankee Stadium. He's gonna put the jersey on and button it up. And oh, why the Yankees? I loved being here. It's because they gave him $700 million. That's why. I love that. With all these reports, oh, he really wants to know about like the farm system and like what the franchise is like. And it's if the Toronto Blue Jays were gonna offer him $800 million, he was going to Toronto.
Yeah.
Period. Like,
Well, that
it's
might
just,
be the case. They are offering a ton of money apparently, but I really don't know if he wants to. Like, I don't know if he wants to be the guy on Toronto, right? I mean, they
yeah.
still haven't even locked up Vladdy.
No,
You know what I mean?
no.
Like, how
You know,
what do their future prospects look like without
I will
Vladdy?
say the one argument in terms of what's the best future out of all the teams that are obviously the Dodgers are going to be good for a long time. I just think that the Dodgers are probably like, here's an $800 million contract, but we're going to defer 99% of the money. And Juan Soto, from what I understand, doesn't want any deferments.
No.
So I don't think he's going to the Dodgers, and I don't think the Dodgers are breaking 660. I don't think they're going above that. Now, the Red Sox, I hate to admit this because I hate them, but they have a ton of young talent in their system, man, that's going to come up in the next few years. Jaron Duran, he's such a prick, but he's a great player.
He is good.
So I think that the Red Sox are definitely going to be back soon with Soto or without Soto, just because and also they got Theo Epstein back.
Timeout. So we got an interesting chart. This is from Greg Amsinger with the odds of the Soto signing. So they got the Mets as the front runners at 38%, the Blue Jays in second at 32%, the Yankees in third at 15%, Red Sox at 14%, and the Dodgers at 1%. It was on MLB Network just now. I find that laughable. Dodgers definitely have better than a 1% shot because they're the world champs. They're going to be great for a while. They got all the money in the world. I'd put the Red Sox and the Dodgers both at like 25%. And I'd put the Yankees at like, maybe 30%, 30%, Mets at 20. Yeah, Mets, and I don't think the Blue Jays are I don't think the Blue Jays are involved at all. I mean, I think they're involved. I just don't see him going to Canada. He's not going to go to Canada. Come on.
No, and also this is kind of a weird thing, but taxes. You have way more significant taxes in Toronto. You have Canadian money, which is worth less than the U.S. dollar. There's like little intricacies like that as well. That's why I think that it's surprising that, like, for example, the Texas Rangers aren't involved in this, or the Houston Astros aren't involved.
They also had the network problems, the Bowie Sports Network, and so forth.
They got a lot of money.
It's going to be Yankees Mets. Let's talk about some other names on the board here. What are your thoughts on Walker Buehler? I mean, he looked pretty damn good in the playoffs. I'm going to pull up his StatCast numbers because he's a guy who has had some injury issues in the past, but you might be able to get him for a kind of a deal. You look at the numbers; they are not good at all. Right, he had a rough year, but he looked good in the World Series. And this is a guy with playoff bona fides in his career. So, how do you feel about him?
I'd be really interested. I always thought he had great stuff. I mean, he's 30 now, and he just had a pretty injury-plagued last couple of the years, and he didn't have a good season. So it's not like great, but he's one of those guys where it's like, I'll take a 1-year flyer on him if he's willing to do a 1-year prove-it deal to try to re-enter the market, or maybe even a 2-year deal with a player option to opt out of the contract of the first year. I think that he would take that. And I would do that just because I think that when he was good, when he came up, he was really, really good. Like, I almost felt like Cy Young caliber good stuff. I just don't think he'll ever be that pitcher again, unfortunately. But I think he could be a really solid number 3, a really good 2. And obviously the moment's not too big for him. He closed out the World Series. I know it was Game 5. They had 2 games to play with. They had the lead, whatever. But there is something for that, like closing out a World Series. It's not just like, oh, go out there and pitch the last few outs. It's not. There's a whole lot more to it mentally, and I think that he showed that he could handle that. He's got a lot of resilience as well, battling the injuries as well. I'd be for it. I'd definitely be for it. A 1 or 2 year deal. If you go 2 years, give him a player opt out after the first.
Prove it deal. We got a question here from the 610 Stig. He says, If Arizona doesn't want to do money for Stroman, can we dump Stroman's $18 million on someone, maybe attach a prospect? I don't think you would need to attach a prospect.
No.
And can they feasibly upgrade over Rodon, or his contract too much to move full? First of all, Rodon's got a no trade clause, so he would have to waive it. I don't see that happening.
And Carlos Rodon, he is a free agent in 2029. So after 2028, and he's making just a tick over 27 mil. So he's a Yankee, guys. That's it.
Yeah.
Period. He's a Yankee. He's not going anywhere. And I still hold on to confidence that he could be really solid for us. He just has to stay away from injuries and maybe tweak a couple of things. But he's had a couple really, really good years. I think the biggest problem with Carlos Rodon is when something goes wrong, he just like melts, collapses. Like there's a little bit of a weakness there mentally. But I think that Stroman and Nestor would be two guys I'm trying to move. They have very affordable contracts, and I think that people would be interested. And it would be pretty easy to move them, especially if you bring in a Buehler. I don't know about Jack Flaherty. That's a really interesting one. It seems like the Dodgers are not going to bring him back. I mean, they just have like 8 starting pitchers now on their team, and they're talking about getting Sasaki as well from Japan. Sasaki, to me, if you could get Roki Sasaki, that would be the dude.
I heard he's going to the Padres. He's a big, apparently, Yu Darvish fan. Like which doesn't surprise me. Like Yu Darvish, right around the age that Sasaki would have been, like in his formative years, Darvish was coming to America and dominating. And I think he's going to go there. And one thing that's interesting about him is he doesn't really cost any money, right?
I know.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting. And he's got like Jacob deGrom type stuff. I would love to see him, but I'd be worried constantly that he's going to break down.
Yeah, but for $5 million, I'm totally willing to take that risk, even if he gives me like 2 starts, just because like for that money, like it would have been worth it.
Frankie Baseball says, would Rodon have outpitched Yamamoto in Game 6? Highly unlikely.
Yes,
Highly. I think you think he would have.
Yes, come on, we would have won that shit.
I think Rodon would have got his brains beat in.
Yes.
But I do think the Yankees would have hit Yamamoto better in Game 6 because they just saw him, and Judge was starting to heat up.
Mm-hmm. I think that if we had won Game 5, even Dave Roberts had admitted this, I think the Dodgers would have started to sweat it a little bit. Because all of a sudden, you lose Game 6, you blew a 3-0 lead in the World Series, and anything could happen in Game 7.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Who else we want to talk about on this list? What about Jack Flaherty? The Yankees almost traded for him at the deadline. They backed out. They actually had a deal in place with the Tigers. They backed out because he had some, suspect back.
Shoulder,
No, it was his back. It was his lower back. Yeah, according to Rosenthal, it was his lower back. And he ended up being fine. He pitched really well for the Dodgers and ended up beating the Yankees, I think, in Game 1. Or he might not have got the W. No, he didn't get the W because it was a walk-off. But he pitched pretty well in Game 1. Got hit kind of hard in Game 5. So, I don't know. I wouldn't be opposed to signing Jack Flaherty. I like his stuff. But, again, when you start talking back issues, I mean, that's the same thing that Rodon has. Can cause performance to diminish rather quickly.
Listen, I have a herniated disc and it sucks. It hurts. It really in my lower back, and it really does suck. I think Clayton Kershaw is the same thing as well, and I think since he herniated he hasn't really been the same either. So if for a pitcher, just in baseball in general, the sport, it has a lot of rotation involved on the spinal cord and with your hips. So I think that it's kind of problematic if you're going to have that. But I think for me, like, look, I'll say this. My perfect offseason for me would be re-sign Juan Soto. I would love to trade for Cody Bellinger, not to play the outfield, to play first. And I agree. And the Cubs apparently are shopping him, and they're willing to eat money there.
Yep.
And then I would rather put Jazz at second because I think he's a better second baseman than third baseman. I think that towards the end of the season, Rizzo and Frankie Baseball, I am basically Clayton Kershaw. Yep, Hall of Fame pitcher Clayton Kershaw. But I think that Jazz is a better second baseman than a third baseman. And then obviously if your outfield would be Judge. I think I'd probably put Judge in left and the Martian in center and Soto in right.
If Soto's back, that's my alignment too. Judge
that's
and left.
How I would do it, yes. Because I think also the Martian would be a better center fielder and it would be easier on Judge's legs and left.
I mean, it's still a big left field for Judge to
Yeah.
patrol, but I'd rather have him doing that. But in center field, you have to back up on pretty much every play. Like
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
these different scenarios, it's a lot of running. I was talking to Cameron Maben about it, who actually played center field for the Yankees for
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
And he was just telling me that like the mileage on Judge like is gonna reduce the length of his career, of his effectiveness if you keep putting him in center field.
Well, first base is in his future. That's why I like the Cody Bellinger deal, because it's not a long-term commitment there, and you
What
can
about
put him
this?
back in the outfield if you wanted to.
What about this? And this might be stupid. Why not put Juan Soto in left field, Judge in right, and then you're weak at one position instead of two? Because Judge didn't look great in left. Soto didn't
Yeah.
look great in right. Just stick Soto in left field. We had back in the 90s, we had Darryl fucking Strawberry playing left field. Couldn't catch a cold. And you could have Dominguez in center where he's much more comfortable. And then you've got a more balanced approach, right? You've got a right fielder where he should be, a center fielder where he should be, right? That allows you to go out and get Bellinger to play first base. I just think that's the way to go.
No, I totally agree with you, actually. When we were first traded for him, I thought that's what it was going to be originally.
Agree. That's what I thought. Yeah.
But for me, for Soto, everyone was like, "Oh, he doesn't go back on balls really well. Just play him deeper. Just play him deeper.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier
then
to
you-
come
but
in
then
deeper.
you-
I'd rather
you-
give up the single."
You also then you lose the effectiveness of his arm. I'm gonna go ahead and put Juan Soto's StatCast numbers up on the board because we're talking about him so much tonight that it's worth focusing a little bit. And I'm getting a alert here.
He is
on
the man of
Twitter.
the hour, literally.
Yeah,
So,
we're getting
you know.
Yankees believed to be in on trade talks for White Sox left-handed pitcher Garrett Crochet. That'd be nice.
Yeah, that would be interesting. But apparently he's kind of a douche.
Yeah. All right, so let's put up Juan Soto's StatCast numbers.
Yeah, look at that. A lot of red.
A lot of red. But the base running and the fielding, I mean, do we really think that's going to get better? You know? I was looking
Probably
at his...
not.
Let me just finish this thought, Terrence.
Yeah, sorry.
I was watching MLB Network a little while ago, and they were talking about how he has changed his approach in the last year when he went to Yankee Stadium. You see the spray chart. He's got a lot of balls to right field. He's hitting fastballs to right field a lot more. He's pulling them, whereas in the past he used to hit those out to left field. It could be something just from a baseball standpoint that not having to change his approach over the next few months would, be something that would appeal to him. Like, stick with what you just had a MVP caliber season doing. He finished third in the MVP voting.
Yeah.
And, hitting in Yankee Stadium obviously suits him. Hitting in front of Aaron Judge suits him. Judge is still going to get pitches to hit, or Judge is still going to protect him next year. He had 58 home runs this year. I don't care, what the playoffs looked like. Pitchers are still going to be afraid of that. So, maybe just all things being equal, as long as you match the Mets, maybe he stays with the Yankees just because he won't have to change anything.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, even if it's 7-10 and 7-30, like we were saying earlier, I still feel like there's a pretty good chance he stays with the Yankees just because of the record-breaking deal anyway. I guess $20 million is a lot of money on the total value of the contract, but over the terms of average annual value, it's really not. And I guess if he was really set on the 730 number, the Yankees could just be like, how about 700? We'll give you a $30 million signing bonus. Just to massage the payroll a little bit like that.
Yeah. So we got over 978 watching on YouTube, over 500 watching on X. Just a reminder to go ahead and like and subscribe. We are the official Yankees podcast of the Foul Territory Network. Got a question here about George Lombard. Did you get to see him in spring training at all? Because someone's asking whether he's a future Yankee or whether or not he's got trade piece written all over him. I really don't know. It's too early to say for me because he was only 18 years old this year. But the fact that he played in spring training and played well, he had a couple of opposite field home runs already as an 18-year-old. Look, that's impressive. But that also could lend to moving him. But we know that the Yankees don't like to move their big prospects. They just don't trade a lot of their biggest prospects.
Yeah, it's annoying because let them play then. But I think that they love him. They obviously love him. If you're going to invite him to spring training at 18 years old, and he played quite well. And I saw this documentary he was doing where him and his brother, I think his dad had either a big leaguer or His dad like was a trainer for a big league team, so he's like been around a lot of like this kind of environment. And the dude really takes care of himself, like almost like Tom Brady level for an 18-year-old. That's impressive as hell. Shows a lot of poise, a lot of maturity. So I think the Yankees love him. I'm excited to see how he develops. I didn't get the chance to see him too much this past spring training, but I think that he'll probably play a lot more this spring training. I don't think him being on the team this year is on the table. Definitely, he's probably like a year or two away, a year at least. I would say more like 2 years away. I think that, they got a lot of younger guys that they're excited to see. I don't think they move George Lombard Jr. I think the only big prospect they would move is Spencer Jones, even though I'm very high on
Agree.
him. I know the strikeout rate is concerning. If he can cut that down, I think he would be very good. It's more about his speed. And then at the time, I think that it just kind of works out the way where you probably eat Stanton's contract the last year of that contract, stick Jones in center, and put the Martian in left, or the
You
other
just
way
said they were going to
around.
trade Jones. You just said they were going to trade him.
I'm saying if they're going to hold on to him, like that would
Oh.
be the way that I would do it.
I would move him. I would actively seek to move him if I were the Yankees. The strikeout numbers are just astronomical. You look, he had 200 strikeouts in Double A.
That's a lot.
I mean, that's almost 40% of his at bats. He had 482 at bats. He had 200 strikeouts, and he only hit 259. And he's how old is he? He's already 23. I am not optimistic that he will ever play in the major leagues. I would utilize whatever value he still has as a prospect to move him. Forget the left-handed Aaron Judge thing. He strikes out way more than Judge ever did in the minor leagues. He's just not a good hitter. I've watched him. He's got massive holes in his swing. Unless he gets with Teacher Man, who's a dick, by the way. He's a prick on Twitter. But he's a good hitting coach. Unless he gets with him, I don't see I don't see him making the major leagues.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. I think they just really love his athleticism and his power, because when he gets a hold of one, I mean, he nukes that thing. But you don't get extra runs for hitting it 480 feet. All right,
Let's
as long as
talk-
it goes over.
Let's talk Oswald Peraza.
Oh yeah, that's just a debacle, dude.
Yeah, let me just pull him up here. Just give me a second. We got some comments in the chat about, don't forget Oswald Peraza. I think his career is pretty much kaput. I think the Yankees killed his value.
Yeah, they cooked him.
Let's go ahead and put up his numbers.
Didn't I say that at the beginning of the year? I'm afraid he's going to be the next Clint Frazier.
24 years old in AAA this year, 243 average, 343 on base percentage. So, I mean, seeing the OBP 100 points higher than the average, pretty good. 25 stolen bases, 16 home runs, 63 ribbies. And we know that he's a fantastic defensive player. I don't know what the Yankees don't like about him, but they don't seem to want to give him a shot, right? And there's been plenty of guys who have put up huge numbers in AAA and then not done well. But it's not often that you see the reverse, where somebody just doesn't hit well in AAA and then does well when you put him in the major leagues. So, but he did have a good year in AAA a couple years ago. He hit, 260? That's not great, actually. But his 63 games, he had 14 home runs. That's not bad.
Well, Derek, don't you think he's kind of one of those like quadruple A players? Like he's in between both leagues?
I haven't seen him enough to know. I mean, I've only seen him a little bit. I mean, defensively, he's a Gold Glove caliber shortstop. Yeah. But there's been a lot of guys. A guy who went to my high school before I got there, a guy named J.D. Thorpe, or maybe A.D. Thorpe. He was a world class like Jeter, like Nomar Garcia Parra level like shortstop prospect, but he could never hit. Right? He was an unbelievable defender. Got drafted by the Braves and then just never hit. So and he ended up getting arrested, I think. So.
Oh wow, that's pretty tough, but. I don't think Jeter Downs is with the organization anymore. BHD collapse. Yorbit Vivas, that's a name that's kind of been floating around as well. I think he had an injury issue. I'm seeing also, like, would you put Oswaldo as the everyday third baseman? Now, I really like Oswaldo, but I like him as a utility bench bat because he can play a lot of positions, and I think he has more value as a utility player to play kind of everywhere. I don't really want to handcuff him to one position. But Yorbit Vivas, I mean, 225 average last year, 9 home runs. Yeah, I mean, lefty, that's cool, but I don't know. I'm not super high on him, I guess.
He had a orbital fracture of his eye, so I'm giving him a mulligan this season. It hurt
Yeah.
him in spring training. He looked good in spring training before that. Like his swing looked good. He spits on close pitches. The year before, he was like a on-base machine. I think this is just a lost year of development. He's another little guy. He's 5'9",
Yeah.
171. He's
Yeah.
how big are you? I was gonna say that's Terrence sized. You look. I would say 5'10", 160.
I am 5'11", 170. So you're
All right,
just a
so
little bit off. Yeah.
average human
Average
size.
human.
How's the acting thing going? You still trying to get
I'm
in the business?
still doing it. I'm still doing the classes, enjoying it. But Hollywood as an industry is a bit slow right now. So just doing my school and grinding it.
Every movie that I've watched, pretty much except for one in the last like month, has sucked. I watched like 5 different movies. I saw Gladiator.
See Wicked?
I didn't see Wicked. I'm not going to see Wicked. I saw.
I saw it. It was great.
It looks stupid to me. I don't like musicals. I saw Juror number 2 last night. That was actually pretty good. That was Clint Eastwood movie. There's this juror,
right.
and he's in a trial, and he begins to suspect that he's the actual person who killed the victim in the trial, like by accident.
Oh, right. Okay.
And just really interesting. But
No. I heard. I didn't see Gladiator 2 yet, but it's on the list. I want to go see it. Did you see that?
yeah, I didn't love it. I mean, it was okay. It was long. There was
I love the first one.
like the fighting scenes and stuff. Like if you're there for the whiz bang and like the epic, that stuff was great. Just the rest of it, like, is bad writing, bad CGI, and it was just not great. But let's take a look at Tanner Scott. What do you say? Tanner Scott is somebody that we haven't heard much about, like linked to different teams, but he's somebody that I really want the Yankees to sign, and I think that the Mets are also in on him. Like this might be an area where the Yankees are bidding against other teams. The only thing that concerns me is the walk rate. He's in the 7th percentile, but look at those numbers. I mean, insanity. 1.75 ERA, 84 strikeouts in 72 innings, and just red across the board in the MLB StatCast percentile ratings. Really a 2-pitch guy, fastball and slider. Excellent at avoiding hard contact. He's in the 99th percentile and in the 100th percentile in average exit velocity, which means he creates soft contact, which is, that's huge for any pitcher. And when you combine it with the awesome strikeout percentage in the 86th percentile, I mean, you're looking at a hell of a pitcher. I think he's going to get the biggest contract of any of the relief pitchers this winter.
He's actually shorter than I thought. He's only 6 foot. But what kind of money do you think he's going to command? Because, like, let's look at Josh Hader. Josh Hader got a 5-year, $95 million contract, and he's a lefty reliever as a closer. So that was the last big closer contract dished out. Call me weird for this, I guess, but and I love Tanner Scott. I think he'd be great. But ever since we gave out the Britton and Chapman contracts, I feel like there's some pause there giving out big contracts to relievers, because I almost look at relievers kind of like the running back of baseball, where especially with the Yankees, where they just like pick up Clay Holmes for nothing and turn him into I know he had his issues, but come on, I mean, the guy did outperform what we thought he was going to be. Do you know what I mean?
It's definitely Brian Cashman's strong suit, picking up relievers, but I think 100 probably gets it done. $20 million a year, maybe. I don't know. It depends on who's involved. If the Mets are in on it, it could go a little bit high. This is crazy that Cohen is going to be bidding on all these guys because he wants to buy a team, right? He wants to buy a super team.
Yeah.
Devin Williams is an option. I think the Yankees might resort to a trade in one of the Devin Williams, Ryan Helsley. Helsley is one of those guys who just elite strikeout stuff. He's got like 100-mile-an-hour fastball. I'm going to pull his StatCast stuff up too. Have you had a chance to watch him pitch?
Somebody said something about, is this the offseason the A's are trading Mason Miller? Would you be interested in that if they were?
They're not trading him. They're trying to get fans in the ballpark there in Sacramento. He's one of those guys that you can...
Why? They're going to Vegas.
They're also auditioning for another city because the Vegas deal might not go through. The price tag came in way higher than they were expecting, like $1.1 billion. It came in at 1.75, and it's probably going to go over 2. So they got the cheapest owner. They might be homeless, right? So they're auditioning for Nashville, I think. So Ryan Helsley, another guy, just elite stuff. 2.04 ERA, 66 and a third innings, 79 strikeouts. Whiff percentage in the 97th percentile, barrel percentage in the 97th percentile, and just an elite arm, but he will not be cheap, and a lot of teams are going to want to trade. I would honestly, I would deal Spencer Jones straight up. Like I think they would make that deal because they're not going to get another elite like prospect first round pick for him. Well, maybe you can. I don't know. We'll see.
No, yeah, I don't think so, but I hear you. I mean, especially if you're going to give up, if you're going to go 1-for-1, Spencer Jones, Ryan Helsley, like how do you say no to that? I get that
Yeah.
Spencer Jones is a top prospect and has a lot of upside, and yes, even I am high on him, but the strikeout rate is concerning, and we've seen a lot with top prospects, Oswald Peraza, the Clint Frazier, Davy Garcia, like these are Miguel Andujar. These are guys that became nothing that you could have gotten a significant return for if you had traded them. I think Oswald Peraza is probably the biggest sin, just because you had Anthony Volpe that ended up winning the job, and then you didn't really need him anymore. You know what I
Right.
mean? So
Right.
I think that's the biggest sin there.
So we got some other comments. Brandon Dillman says Miller definitely isn't getting traded. He has so much team control. I agree. That's a big part of it. The A's don't like to give up on controllable cheap players. A's signed Severino to the largest contract in
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, yeah, that
that's
kind of
great
makes me
in
laugh.
team history. Let me just my iPad here with MLB Network froze. So I want to just fast forward it a little bit. We still got no news on Soto, but hopefully we'll have something soon. We are entering hour number 2 here coming up on Pinstripe Territory. We're going to go for at least 90 minutes tonight, and then maybe take a pause and come back if something happens with Soto, but we might keep going if the talks heat up. We might go 2 hours tonight. We'll see. Terrence, what else is on your mind as far as the trade candidates here? I know Ryan McMahon gets a lot of attention. What about Brandon Lowe? Do you think the Rays would consider trading him to the Yankees? I don't think
think
so.
to a division rival. No. I don't think the Rays would do it to the division rival. That's just me. But Ryan McMahon, I think, is the name that jumps out that I would love. Just because I was saying earlier, I would rather put Jazz at second, and then you need a third baseman, right? But I just don't see the Rays giving Brandon Lowe to a division rival like that. To be honest with you, you know what I mean.
Let's
And
dive
also,
into
Ryan
Ryan
McMahon
McMahon.
is a lefty too. That's
Yeah.
also a nice thing.
So Ryan McMahon only hit 242 this year, 20 home runs, 325 on base percentage, but built for Yankee Stadium. Look at the power.
Yeah.
And he's an excellent fielder at third base, 82nd percentile. I think the combination of him and Jazz is probably better than the combination of Jazz and Glaber, maybe, than
Yeah.
what they were this year. Although, what Glaber did in the playoffs was incredible. He was on base every single day. I've heard rumors of him to Seattle.
Torres or McMahon?
Torres.
Torres? Yeah, I can see it. I definitely think that's probably the best fit for him. They need bats desperately. They have great pitching. They have no offense. And he would hit well in that ballpark. It's a smaller market. I think he'd do well in Seattle. Look, thank you for the last few years. He hit really well in the postseason. He was great as the leadoff guy in the second half of the season. But thank you for your service. I
Yeah.
wish you the best of luck. That's it. He's not going to come back.
Joey Fanati says too many guys with low batting average. That's one reason I could see him going after Yandy Diaz. Let's pull up Yandy Diaz here. Again, difficult to trade with the Rays in the division, though not unheard of. Diaz hit 281 this year. He hit 330 last year. He's a contact guy. He's a first baseman. Huge dude. Just a big, strong, imposing monster. Not a great fielder. Just in the 31st percentile and not a great base runner. This seems like the Yankees type of player, though, if we're being honest. But he's
Cheap
got
contract.
a low strikeout rate, great bat speed. He started hitting for a little bit more power the last couple of years. He went from 9 home runs in 22 to 22 home runs in 23. Now, he is so big and strong. It's amazing to me that he was ever a guy who hit 9 home runs in a season.
Yeah. Yeah, he's making $10 million in 2025, and then there's a club option for him for the next year for $12 million. So a very manageable contract. I mean, he's coming from the Rays, right? He's going to be making dirt. But yeah, I'd be interested just because first base as a whole. I think that Cody Bellinger would be my first choice to play first for us if via trade, especially if the Cubs are willing to eat the money, like I said. Another interesting name would be Nolan Arenado. The Cardinals are trying to unload guys. They said they'd want to eat the contract. I think he has a no trade clause. If that's the case, I'm pretty sure he gave them like a list of teams that he'd be willing to go to. But I know that they've been shopping him around, right, Derek? So I don't know. Would you
Yeah.
be interested in Nolan Arenado? Maybe.
Not super interested. They'd have to eat a lot of the money. He's owed a lot, and I think he's a little bit over the hill. I can see him going to the Dodgers, though. The Dodgers are interested. Like you said, they print money. They have money to spend. They might be able to unlock a little bit of something with his analytics there. I'm watching the iPad over here, and we got MLB Network, and somebody just walked right into the fountain. Like, there's a fountain in the lobby, and some moron was walking and looking the other way and walked right into the fountain. And they're saying 700. I got the captions on. I believe it was. I don't know who it was. One of the baseball writers says that the offers are up to 750 million now. So last we heard was 730 and 710, but now they're saying 750.
MLB Network is saying that?
Yeah, that's what I just saw.
From who?
I couldn't tell who it was because I'm watching on mute and I just had the captions, but it looked like it was possibly I forget his name. One of the baseball writers from Fox. I forget his name.
I mean, look, I feel like 750. It's starting to get nutty. I don't really. I love Juan Soto. I think he's a great player, and I really don't think that the Yankees 1-2 punch with Soto and Judge has been like, the Mantle Maris, and it's kind of like a legacy thing almost. And I'd love to see him finish his career out as a Yankee, but $750 million is starting to get like nuts, right? And like I said, if the Yankees went over 700, I feel like, again, you broke the record, man. You broke the Ohtani record. Do you want to be a Yankee or not? Like, period, right? I saw a thing where it was like, it's January. The bidding for Juan Soto is now $950 million. The Mets are still competing with each other. It's like, I mean, dude, do you want to be a Yankee or not? Damn.
Yeah, so two things. One, do you think it could get up to 800 million? Like, do you
No.
I mean, if it's a 750, I mean, Cohen.
No, I think 750 will do it. To be
there's
honest.
something also that these owners, a lot of times, and I'm not saying that Cohen feels this way, have a responsibility to the other owners to not drive the prices to astronaut. I mean, you don't want that every year somebody getting 800, 900. Like, who's going to get $1 billion, right?
Yep.
So. Yeah, I don't know.
That's why I think there's going to be a work stoppage.
I think it's going to be 15,750 from the Yankees. I would say take it or leave it. Right? If I'm Hal, I'm saying 15,750. That's 50 a year. Right? That's 10 million more than Aaron Judge. You're locked up through age 41. You got a chance to go to the Hall of Fame in pinstripes, possibly with Aaron Judge, who will be waiting to welcome you because he'll already be a first ballot Hall of Famer, I think.
Yeah.
He's going to hit 500 home runs or better, and he's going to have probably 2 or 3 MVP. Should have 3 already. He'll probably win at least one more, I would think, because he's still good. But he'll start to tail off in a couple of years. But, the power is going to be there. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. Got a chance to go into the Hall of Fame, just like Smoltz and Glavine and Maddox, kind of all,
But does he want that? Does he want to be the guy?
Does he want to be the Mets Hall of Fame? I mean,
they don't have a lot of all-time Mets. That's the thing. Somebody made that point. It's like, I guess the one thing the Mets have, if this is what Juan Soto desires, is he will instantly be Mr. Met because they got nobody. They got Ed Kranepool, and that's it. So he'll immediately be that guy, especially if he goes and wins there, right? So if that's something he desires, I could see it, but yeah, man, I think that we're starting to get to the number now where it's just like, dude, like, this is it, man. You want to be here or not? And then look, if he goes to the Mets for $750 million because the Yankees didn't want to match that, I'm not going to believe it. They were willing to go above 700. Honestly, that shows a lot. Everyone's saying, oh, they want Hal to be like George. That shows a lot of George to me if he was willing to go over $700 million for a player. I mean, that's just like nuts. So I'm not going to kill him if he walks away from that.
Ian Hawaiian says Soto could be the first Dominican in Monument Park. Yeah, I mean, that could mean something. Yeah. I mean, we got Panama represented. We got Puerto Rico represented. Where's Posada? Was Posada also Puerto Rico? I feel like Posada was Puerto Rico. I'm going to double check. Where is Jorge Posada from? Yeah, Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Bernie is from Puerto Rico. Mariano Rivera is from Panama. Yeah, he would be the first. And that might be something that he takes seriously. Like, a lot of Dominicans are very proud of their heritage of like being the first Dominican to do this, being doing something that other Dominican athletes have done. It's something that they're all they seem to take a great deal of pride in. The 2026 World Baseball Classic Dominican team is going to be absolutely absurd. I saw a post from, I think it was a Talking Baseball guy. 2026 Dominican Baseball WBC Team X. I'm going to take a look here. This is from Reddit. Okay, so I'm going to share.
Take it with a grain of salt, then.
No, but it's like Tatis Jr. right field, Soto left field, Jose Ramirez DH, Vladdy Jr. at first base, Manny Machado at third base, Willie Adames at shortstop, Ketel Marte at second. Man, Ketel Marte is somebody that I wish the Yankees had gotten years ago.
Yep,
Teoscar Hernandez in center. Remember, he was on the radar for a little bit, and I felt the Yankees wouldn't trade Volpe for him. And then Austin Wells. No, that can't be right. Is he really? No.
Maybe he's got a parent who's Dominican or something like that, like his mom or his dad is Dominican.
Toy Lambiendo, what the hell that means. But I should have paid attention in Spanish class. Anyway, reserves, Marcelo Ozuna, Ellie De La Cruz, Julio Rodriguez, Rafael Devers. If Devers is on your bench, I'd put Devers over Machado, honestly. I know Machado's a better third baseman. Devers, I think, would be a better hitter at that point. And then Segura and Morel. Anyway, that could be why. So Frankie says Austin Wells' mom is Dominican. I did not know that. Shout out to you, Frankie Baseball.
That's all you need.
Frankie, this is just for you.
You're a smart motherfucker. That's right.
All right.
Hey, listen, the Dominicans are great. They've always been great at baseball. So
I played on a team of Venezuelan guys. It was me and one other American guy that played on a men's league team of all Venezuelan guys, and those guys love baseball too, man. It's like these Latin American countries just love baseball.
Yep.
Anyway,
I went down to the DR when I was like 16 or 17 to play against those kids. In the middle of Santo Domingo, in the middle of the city, where the Dominican mafia was like watching us play. It was quite an experience. And I played against some kids. This one guy I'll always remember, Jason Guzman was his name. He signed for $2 million with the Kansas City Royals. And this was a shortstop. This kid's hands were liquid. It was like the most impressive thing I've ever seen in my life. And that guy didn't even get out of like AA ball. So just goes to show how hard it is to get all the way to the major leagues and stay there and be a good player in the major leagues.
So let's talk about our baseball, because we got a long time to kill here. So we got Heyman on the broadcast on MLB Network right now.
I can't even believe it.
Anyway, I played against a guy. First of all, I played against Gary Gaetti's kid, Joe Gaetti. He had massive power. I played against. Who did I play against? Josh Hamilton played at the high school nearby. There was a catcher, Landon Powell, who made it to the major leagues. I played against him. A guy I competed against named Jason Neighborgall, who was projected to be like the number one pick, but he signed with Georgia Tech. And then when he got to Georgia Tech, he developed like Rick Ankiel disease, like the yips. But I can look up his stats in the minor leagues. He still got drafted because he threw like 100 miles an hour, and he like his fingers were like, it was like they were like Freddy Krueger fingers, and he was able to throw just like the nastiest curveball to go with it. He broke minor league stats. He was so bad. So his look at the numbers here: 45 walks in 22 and 2/3 innings in 05 and 06. 13 innings, 46 walks. 2007, 6 2/3 innings, 37 walks. And then 2007 also, that was two teams. Okay, so one of them was 1 inning, 12 walks. Holy cow. How does that even happen? And then 07, 5 2/3 innings, 25 walks with a minus ball. But this is a guy who I played against in high school. I'm talking 100-mile-an-hour cheese. 100-mile-an-hour cheese.
Yeah, that's just different. I'm sorry, Derek. I'm just like refreshing like feeds right now to like constantly. So, but Andy Martino, I don't know if you saw that. He tweeted out Soto situation appears to be coming to a head this evening. That was like 20 minutes ago. So it seems like tonight will be the decision.
You want to just stay? You want to just stay live until it happens?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. We can stay live as long as we can.
This is a test of the bladders, man. This is I'm still doing good. How you doing over there? And I'm drinking a 30-ounce Stanley over here. If we do need to run a break, if we do need to take a break, I do have a ad here. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and get it out of the way. We got a quick word from our sponsors. These are the guys over at Foul Territory. They're going to give us a quick read for HelloFresh, and then we'll be back, hopefully, to announce the Juan Soto signing in the near future.
Holiday shopping gets hectic. Why don't you let America's #1 meal kit help you out? HelloFresh has over 50 recipes to choose from each week. They pre-portion the ingredients and then ship them right to your doorstep.
If you're looking to fit a specific lifestyle, HelloFresh features preferences like fit and wholesome, quick and easy, or a vegetarian option for you too.
HelloFresh helps you eat healthier and stress less about how you're getting the ingredients and ideas for that perfect home-cooked meal.
In many parts of the country, it's cold out, so skip the hassle and snuggle up next to your phone or your computer and pick out your favorite recipes. Then let HelloFresh handle the planning, the shopping, and most of the prep. It's easier than ever to get dinner on the table quick and painless. We've made many of these recipes ourselves, and they are delicious. Trust me.
Get 10 free meals at hellofresh.com/free-FT. Applied across 7 boxes. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. That's 10 free HelloFresh meals just by going to hellofresh.com/free-FT.
All right. Whoops. We gotta find Terrence. There we go. I I had that set up to go to the wrong. Whatever. We're not playing error-free ball here. The other day, or a couple hours ago, actually, my brain is mush. I was doing a thumbnail for the guys at Hammer Territory, and I spelled the word meeting. They're doing winter meetings episode, and I spelled meetings with 3 E's, just like the 5th inning of Game 5. 3 E's. So while we were watching that ad, I got an email from somebody who's going to be on the show in the upcoming next couple of weeks, hopefully. And we're going to play a little guessing game here. We're a little guessing game. I'm going to see how well you know your mid-90s Yankees, okay?
Ooh, here we go.
He also had an appearance with the Yankees in the early 2000s. He was with the Yankees for a couple of years. He was at one point traded for Cecil Fielder. He was a switch hitter, and if you threw the ball inside, he was deadly. He went back-to-back with Don Mattingly in 1995. Any thoughts? Any guesses? See if the chat can get it before you.
The chat probably can get it before me. This is before my time, but let me think about this for a sec.
Frankie says Chad Curtis. No, not a switch hitter. He was black. He's bald.
Black, he's bald.
Not Marcellus Wallace. Salvatore has part of it. Frankie Baseball with the big brain once again, Mr. Ruben Sierra. Mr. Ruben Sierra.
You know what's funny about Ruben Sierra? That guy's come to see me play baseball, actually. In my high school, he was friends with my head coach, and he came to a few of our games and like filled in our dugout and stuff like that. He's a pretty cool guy. Yeah,
he seems cool. He said that he'd watch some of the podcasts and enjoys the coverage, so we're going to get him on the show. All right, so let's count down a few more of our potential trade targets. Garrett Crochet, a lot of teams are in on Garrett Crochet. I see him as a potential Chris Sale type. I'm going to pull up his numbers. Like he reminds me so much of Chris Sale. He's 6'6", 245 pounds. Big dude.
A lot thicker than Chris Sale.
Yeah. Chris Sale's got that wiry frame, but I mean, a little bit more meat on the bones. Maybe he's going to be a little bit more durable. 25 years old. He went 6-12 this year for a bad White Sox team. 146 innings, 209 strikeouts. You figure he's good for 160, 170 innings next year. And look at all that red. Look at all of that. He keeps the ball on the ground in the 64th percentile there. The extension. For a guy that tall to also have like that kind of extension, I mean, it's right on you, right? So that's one of the things that made Randy Johnson great, and what makes Chris Sale great. Also, Chris Sale throws from the sidearm, So, there's not a whole lot that I wouldn't trade for Garrett Crochet. I don't think I would trade Jason Dominguez, but if it was straight up, I'd have to consider it at least. But then you'd have to fill another outfield spot. So, I mean, I would unload a package: Spencer Jones, George Lombard, and maybe a couple of mid-tier guys. Oswald Peraza, you can chuck in there. You're not going to use him.
Yeah. Well, I guess if you're gonna, if let's say they won't take no for an answer about Dominguez, they're like, you want Crochet, you have to give us Dominguez. I'd be like, fine, you have to give us Luis Robert as well to fill the other outfield spot, and maybe you can fix him. I guess that was a former top prospect. He had a couple good years, but I'd be like, if you want it, let's say you were saying like George Lombard Jr., Spencer Jones for Garrett Crochet, and they were like, we want Dominguez. I'd be like, okay, fine, but give us Robert back. That's probably how I would.
Oh, yeah, you'd have to take – yeah, that'd be an interesting – I'd like to be a fly on the wall for that discussion. There's going to be a lot of teams, fighting over it. It does sound from everything that we're reading on Twitter now, things are heating up with Soto.
Seems like
it has that feeling that it had last year when he got traded, where it was just kind of like a fait accompli at one point. It's starting to feel like that, but since we don't know what team, like it was only the Yankees, right? It wasn't a chance that he would go to the Mariners, right? It was, and Mets weren't interested. There were a lot of Yankees rumors and very little else. This time it could be anybody. So my guess is he's made his decision. My guess is that decision has been made, and right now, Scott Boras is on the phone to let other teams know. And and at some point, we're going to see a pop-up from either Jeff Passan or Jack Curry or, maybe Ken Rosenthal, Buster Olney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, actually, I was going to ask you real quick, how did you feel about the O's getting Tyler O'Neill, a guy with a really solid season last year? And the Santander is a free agent, so I guess they're probably out on him, and they're looking to replace that.
Well, here's the thing. They're moving the wall in Mount Baltimore. Why did they ever do that in the first place? That's part of the thing that made Camden Yards so fun to go to, and I've been there 3 times, is that they had the short left field wall. And I went there after they moved it. Dude, it's like 20 feet further. It's insane how much, and the ball doesn't travel well to left field.
They hurt their own team doing it.
Yeah. So he'll enjoy that at least. I don't wonder how far they're going to move it. I don't know if they'll move it all the way back into where it was a couple years ago, where it was 364 at one point. I wonder what it's going to be out there in left center field. Yeah. I'll see if I can find the new dimensions.
There's a picture of it. They lowered the fence a little bit and moved it in, but it's not like all the way moved in like it was previously. I mean, totally ridiculous that they did that. Didn't they do that after Gleyber Torres absolutely torched them in 2019? And he just kept dunking home runs out there. But yeah, that absolutely ridiculous, because you have a pretty good offensive team. I guess they just felt like they have a lot of lefties, but I still feel like it was silly to do that because it ended up hurting their own team doing it. But I feel like baseball maybe should be, it's funny, I'm saying this as a Yankee fan where we have the short porch and right, but maybe be a little bit stricter on like what you can do with your outfield dimensions. Some stadiums, it's kind of like silly what they got going on. And like, I understand Fenway's an old ballpark, and like Coors Field is a mile high. So you got to make it like that outfield is enormous, but I've never been to Camden Yards. It's on the list though. It's definitely on the list. So I'm going to put it up right now on the screen.
So it looks like they're coming into 374. It's going to be 363 at the same point, but then it's just not going back out as deep. It's still 333 down the line, which is pretty far. I mean, it's just insane how far they had it back. They had it jump from 333, which is already pretty far for down the left field line, out to 384 in like a span of what? How far do you think that is? Like width wise, like 30 feet, 50 feet, something like that.
Oh, from
the
very
pole,
left.
from the pole to
Yeah.
where it's like 384.
Yeah, it's about that 30, 40
It's
feet.
so
That's out really
steep.
quick. Yeah,
Yeah.
really quick. It's funny. This Twitter's going crazy right now. Like this stuff is hilarious. People like Gary Sheffield Jr. He goes, "My stomach is in my ass waiting on this Soto bomb."
We've got another deal here. Mark Feinsand reporting. I wish I had some breaking news kind of audio that the Dodgers have agreed to a deal with a left-handed hitting outfielder named Michael Conforto.
God damn it, dude! Like that.
I threw that one out like a blade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They took two guys from the Giants.
Yeah. Interesting. We'll see how it shakes out. I'm feeling anxious.
You know what's hilarious? I knew this kid in high school who was a diehard Met fan, and this is when Aaron Judge was a rookie in 2017, and he was trying to argue that Michael Conforto was a better player than Aaron Judge, and I was like, dude, he was like, Michael Conforto. I was like, dude, stop. It's stop.
It reminds me
at the time, Michael Conforto was a pretty good player, but like the way that aged is hilarious now. But I was like, dude, like, stop. It's just not close.
With the whole Ohtani getting $700 million last year, and now Soto is going to break that. A lot of people were saying, well, Soto's a better player than Ohtani, like in the Yankees chat. I'm a Yankees fan. I'm as big a Yankee homer as anybody. Ohtani's a better player. I mean, he's not even close. He's got 3 MVPs. And when he pitches to like I think he had a 2.33 ERA a couple of years ago. And the year after that was 3.15. I mean, those are almost Cy Young level numbers. Obviously, his numbers they'll take a tick back offensively when he pitches again.
He's 2 players in 1 player. That's why you give him that money. Juan Soto, if anything, Juan Soto is a pretty one-dimensional player. He's a great hitter, but that's kind of it. He's got a great arm, but he doesn't play good defense. He doesn't run the bases that well, but he's a great hitter. That's it.
I like the way you say Juan Soto.
Soto.
It's like Will Wheaton. So I guess we're just playing the waiting game. I'm just going to keep hitting I wish there was a way to set up. There probably is a way to set up to like auto refresh.
Yeah.
Every 10 seconds or something like that. We'll see. I don't know.
I do agree with you though. I feel like we're now to the point where it's about to happen. It's like, what time is it in Dallas right now? Time in Dallas is it's 8:23 in Dallas currently.
I got some news.
Oh,
Bill Madden, New York Daily News. Cohen is offering $800 million for Juan Soto.
Oh, he's a Met. That's it. Over. He's a Met.
Says Yankees deserve credit for apparently going well beyond their comfort zone at 750 to 760 million, but word is now Cohen is going 800 million. If so, he'll be alone.
If that's true,
he's a Met.
He's a Met, and Steve Cohen just went like, dude, F it. Like,
that's nuclear.
Like he just, and Michael K was saying this, he's an art collector in like life, and he'll pay whatever it is that he wants. He wants Juan Soto, and credit to him. He's gonna go to a nuclear number, 800 million. I wouldn't go that far. I just wouldn't.
I wouldn't either. I don't know. I wouldn't have gone 750. I wouldn't have gone 600.
800 million. That is nuts, man.
Yeah. $800 million.
If
I tell you what,
true,
that hits like a ton of bricks, man. That hits like a ton of bricks because he's gone. He's gone if it's $800 million, and that's going to change baseball. That's going to change. Yeah, Frankie Baseball says Steve Cohen just did the equivalent of the Joker blowing up Gotham Hospital in The Dark Knight. Just walk. That's nuclear, man. 860 watching. Reminder to like and subscribe. We're going to be here until we have some news, hopefully. This is a test of the bladders. Only the strongest will survive. We got a lot of people in the chat watching. Be sure to join the channel. We've had about 50 new subscribers since this stream began. We're closing in on 45,000, about 238 away. So go ahead and subscribe. Also, check out all the other Foul Territory Network podcasts. There's Hammer Territory. There's Northside Territory. We've got a couple of other ones coming. We've also got Fair Territory with Ken Rosenthal, all that stuff. And, of course, Foul Territory, Dodgers Territory. So check us all out. Subscribe to us all. Help keep the lights on around here. 800 million. I want to know confirmation. Although I can see it. I have no doubt in Bill Madden there. And Bill Madden is as seasoned as it gets as a professional baseball reporter.
Yeah, I mean that's at a point where Steve Cohen is just like, dude, I'm not being outbid. We're going to give you the most money. The only way I think he comes back to the Yankees is, like I said before, he already broke the contract for Ohtani, and he loves being a Yankee. That's the only way he comes back. I just don't think Steve Cohen is going to get outbid. $800 million. I guess the Mets can have him because that's just nuts.
One of my Twitter follows, NYY Charlotte, says, if it's actually 800, I can't even be mad. That's ridiculous. I agree. Yeah. It's astonishing. We got another Twitter account that I don't know if this person's real or not, says Yankees general manager is reportedly on a Delta 496 flight to Dallas, arriving at Dallas Fort Worth Airport within the hour, and that was 45 minutes ago. So he should be, on his way to the winter meetings, arriving tonight. That doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to get anything out of Juan Soto in terms of press conference or anything tonight, but we should have a decision shortly. And if it's really 800 million, I mean, that's a quick phone call back to Hal. Hey, you going 800? Nope. Sorry. Peace.
Yep. No, definitely 800 is. And let's just say in a crazy world, the Yankees will go to 800. I feel like the Mets will just turn around and be like, here's 850. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, Frank, you might want to clip this. 800 million breaking news. That's insane. And there might not be a bottom to what, or a roof, I should say, to what Cohen is willing to go to. It might just be he refuses to be outbid.
Yeah.
I saw a report before that if the Yankees were willing to go to 750, that Soto would go there. But I mean, once you go to 800, there's more than just like, I get that 50 million isn't. When you look at 750 versus 800 million, you're not spending either one of them, right? That $50 million is going to be in your bank account when you die. But just being the guy who got 800 million, who got 100 million more than Shohei Ohtani, there's some pride that comes with that. There's another Fox Sports reporting. Oh, that's Ken Rosenthal saying Conforto deal with the Dodgers is 17 million. So that's a decrease from what he made last year when he made 18.
Yeah, I mean, that's just such an insane number. Like this part of me is just like, I feel like the Yankees should just match to just keep driving the price up for him to end up at like $1 billion.
Yeah. Wow. $1 billion. Yeah, let's not get ahead of ourselves, but wow. I can't even fathom an $800 million contract. We were debating whether the Yankees should go $500 million this year. We had that debate. Would the Yankees go to $500 million? He turned down $455 million from the Washington Nationals, and everybody thought that was idiotic at that point. And he has since proven that it was a smart decision. Scott Boras knows what he's doing. But he's ruining baseball. He's absolutely ruining baseball.
Yeah, he had a tough winter last year, though, man.
Yeah, revenge tour.
I feel like that even motivated him more to have like a big winter this year. You know what I mean?
Jake Boss says, I wouldn't go 800, no way in hell for any player. Angelo Production says that 800 million report can't be real. It's from Bill Madden, who is a long time New York baseball reporter. He would not put that out unless he had multiple sources on it. Now, these multiple sources might be trying to like play games with the media or whatever, just to get the Yankees to back off. Like, hey, we'll do it. We'll go 800. But I believe it.
Yeah. No, I totally, I hear what you're saying. Like the Mets are like, let's leak this out just to maybe the number is still not even past 700. You know what I mean? Maybe it's not even past that number. I think it is. I'm pretty confident it is. But like that whole report, I think that I believe the most was the 730, 710 thing, and the Mets were like right there. And then I guess it's maybe like the Yankees are like, okay, we'll match at 730, and the Mets are at the point where they're like, let's just leak this out and say that we'll go 800 so they can stop.
All right, so we've taken for granted that we've been going for a long time here. We've been streaming for a while, so let's catch everybody up. We got some comments in here about just joining now, what's going on. The latest is that Juan Soto reportedly has an offer. This is via Bill Madden of the New York Daily News, longtime baseball writer, of $800 million for the Mets, and that the Yankees are in the 700 to 750 range, which was already well out of their comfort zone. But Hal was swimming in those waters and drove the price up. And apparently Steve Cohen has decided to drop the doomsday device. So if it's true, I don't even want the Yankees to spend $800 million on him. I really don't. I don't want. I'd be out too. I'd have been out at, like I said, 650-ish probably. I would have been like, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and get Corbin Burns and Cody Bellinger and Willie Adames, although he's off the board now, or Christian Walker. I'm gonna go ahead and get 3 or 4 good players and hope that Dominguez and Wells, improve next year. And we're going to hire somebody for a lot less than $800 million to teach these guys how to run the bases. And hopefully we'll have a better year. But, Fried, Burns, Bellinger, maybe go get Arise if he's available, that type of thing. But, yeah, Hal needs to walk away if it's at $800 million.
Yeah, I think he will. I think
which will speed up this process. That'll speed up this process.
Oh, for sure. I definitely think he'll walk away at that number. And even, let's just say hypothetically, Hal was willing to go to that number. I think that number is showing the Yankees, dude, we'll just keep going. You know what I mean? That's what that's telling me. That's the message that the Mets are sending to the Yankees. We'll just keep going, man. I don't care. I don't care what it takes. $800 million is just absolutely nuts. I thought that it was going to end up being 700 matching the Ohtani contract. That's what I thought we were. We're $100 million past that now. That's nuts.
I would have thought the absolute ceiling was about 705, right? Beat 3 barriers. The modern value of the present day average annual value, which I believe is $43 million according to the union. They valued it $43 million. And then I believed that would go up to $50 million. That would be the first to break the $50 million barrier. And I thought he would get a 700 plus million, more than Ohtani. So I was thinking, 14 or 15 years at, 50, which, ends up being like 702 or whatever it is. 50 point something. But if it's 800, I'm walking away. And I hope that Hal walks away from that.
Oh no, for sure. I mean, I don't see how they match that number. If it's 800 million, I think he's going to the Mets. I don't know. I mean, is it disappointing? Yeah, of course, I would have loved to have kept him, but that's just I think that's irresponsible, honestly, to go to that number, to spend that much money. And what are we talking about for AAV now? For how many years? I don't even know for how many years. I guess it would be a 15-year contract. Is he going to have opt-outs in there? I have no idea what the deal is going to end up looking like, but to me, that just seems like an irresponsible number. And who knows? Who knows? This will be the optimistic Yankee fan. Maybe the Martian ends up being an absolute phenom.
I think
we don't really miss Soto. You know what I mean?
I think we're still going to miss Soto, but I think he's going to be really good. I would have liked to have seen him play with Soto for more than the few games he did, and just see how much he can learn. Because they're similar type of players. They're both kind of short. They are.
I think Soto's 6'2". No, need taller than that.
Hang on. Yeah, you're right. Soto's bigger.
Yeah.
I thought Soto was shorter.
No.
Yeah. So Soto's 6'2". Dominguez, I believe 5'10". But stocky, strong.
Yeah.
Very good eye. What is 800 million times or divided by 15? Let's see. I'm just going to do some quick math here. I'm going to try and figure out what this is. That's 53.3 per year. That's
I
reasonable.
definitely,
Like,
yeah. I mean, I definitely think there's going to be a work stoppage, though. I don't think this is sustainable.
yeah,
This
that's
is, even the Cubs and the Rangers, who are supposed to be big markets, are even like,
they can't.
crying
They
like
can't.
this is nuts.
I remember when Albert Bell got 5 years, 55 million from the White Sox. That was huge. He opted out. I remember when Kevin Brown got 7,105 from the Dodgers back in 97. That was enormous. And then A-Rod just shattered everybody. He got double the next biggest sporting contract. I believe it was Kevin Garnett at the time, who was at 126 or so. And then Alex Rodriguez got 252. A lot of numbers being thrown around here, but wow. If he gets 800 million, that's more than double Aaron Judge. 750 is more than double Aaron Judge.
That's just nuts. I honestly, like, I'm still kind of like digesting that information. That 800 million number is just absolutely
And
ridiculous.
like I said, Bill Madden is as reliable as it gets.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is absolute bonkers.
I mean, I kind of expected him to go to the Mets, to be honest, going into the offseason, but I mean, I had like cautious optimism. I was feeling better about it earlier in the night, but I mean, if that's really true, man, that's just wow. I can't even really. I can't blame Hal. Hal tried, and I don't like this narrative that Hal is cheap. He's not, dude. Like, he's willing to spend the money. Maybe some of that money hasn't been spent very wisely over the last few years, but that's more of a detriment to the front office than Hal Steinbrenner.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if Hal's willing to go to uncharted waters, but I think he would walk away at 800, and I think he rightfully should. I'd imagine we're going to have, if the rumor really is true that he has an $800 million offer, I would think that it should be wrapping up pretty quickly, because I don't think anybody's going in those waters. I know that the Dodgers won't go there. They're not going to pay him more than Ohtani.
No.
Boston, I don't think, can afford that. Their regional network is not doing good. Nesson.
No, they're out.
Toronto can, but if you're already getting 800 million from the Mets, why would you go to Canada? Why not just play in the city you're already in? So to me, it looks like Mets 800 million.
I definitely think it's Yankees or Mets. I think those are the only two teams that are left. Now it seems like the 800 is going to be the separator, and he's going to go to the Mets, but I don't think that the Red Sox, the Dodgers, and the Blue Jays are still in this thing. No way.
So over Thanksgiving break, I did a little bit of retail therapy. I bought an iPad. I bought a new iPad, and it was $900. And I remember thinking, like my stomach was churning. Like, I hate spending huge amounts of money on stuff.
Yeah.
Especially since I just bought a couch, and I was like, ugh. And I just can't even imagine like what your stomach must feel like after you enter into an agreement, a contract to pay someone $800 million.
That's like ashtray money, $900. That's just, look, I work in a luxury setting with a lot of celebrities and a lot of wealthy people, and even sometimes at my job, like, some of the figures that get thrown around are pretty nuts. Just like thinking about, like, you just spent somebody's salary in an afternoon,
Yeah.
So like, we're getting 800 million. Look, the only thing about the 800 million, look, if he goes to the Mets, fine. Okay, cool. He went to the Mets. But as a baseball fan, I just worry about it, because I don't think we're going to have a season in 2026 when this collective bargaining agreement is over, because I don't think the other owners are going to be down to be having the market go in this direction. Because if he gets $800 million, then does that mean that Jason Dominguez, when he's a free agent, is going to get $1 billion contract if he ends up being the player that we think he's going to be? Do you know what I mean? Is Paul Steen going to get $60 million a year as a pitcher? You know what I'm saying? Like, we're getting to levels
you make good
now.
points.
I don't know if this is sustainable. I don't think this is good or healthy for the sport.
I agree with you. I think it's bad. I think it's bad for the sport.
Yeah.
And this is not the first time that Cohen has done something bad for the sport.
The Scherzer and Verlander contracts, he went from Garrett Cole got 36 a year as the top pitcher in the game, and then he blew past all that and gave Scherzer and Verlander 43 So I understand they were older players and he gave them like higher value contracts for less years, but is the AAV is the number that the players look at. So instead of giving them 37 a year, he went right to 43, and I think that just like really got the prices to get out of control now for players.
So we got a comment on Twitter that says, Frank Paul, he says, totally false news. No way he gets 800. It's all hype. Dude can't play defense. And I just want to reiterate, Bill Madden is about as good and experienced of a baseball writer as it gets. And he's been around a long time, and he would not report something like that without sources, you know? So
I can't even believe it.
it's just nuts.
Somebody's tweeting out like the steak sandwich at Citi Field next year is going to cost $60. That's true. I saw this report that if you want to go to Dodger Stadium for a game, if you want to buy a beer, it's $35 to buy a beer.
Bernie Cerrito says it's out of control. It has to stop. This money is hurting the fans. I've seen comments. I mean, I get hundreds of comments every day. I can't read them all, but I try and read the ones that I can. And I see comments from people who are like, I used to be a big baseball fan, but now I can't afford to take my grandkids, or, I can't afford to take my family. If you got 3-4 kids, right, and you go to a baseball game, you're talking $500, $600, $700, maybe $1,000 for a 3-hour experience. And that's not including, traffic and parking and getting over the bridge and all that stuff. It is bad for the game, I think. But, hey, it is what it is. It's our sport. I agree with you that there could be a work stoppage coming if these salaries continue to escalate. There's got to be a salary cap. There's got to be a salary floor. And I know that's rich coming from a Yankees fan. But when you've got one guy who's 10 times richer than everyone else in the league and just offering insane money, it affects the competitive balance of the league. And something has to be done about it.
No, definitely. Hockey had this problem back in the 90s, and honestly, their sport is better for it now. It's better when I'd like to see a world, honestly, where like the Minnesota Twins could be really involved in it, or the Milwaukee Brewers or whatever. Like those teams have no chance essentially. And I think it's probably better for the competitiveness of the sport and the strategy of the sport, where your front office is so good at what they do that they manage to set up the payroll in a way where the money can clear out for this free agency class because you got this one player that you really want. There's more strategy there. It's more fun. Like a fan, like I've only met one an A's fan once in my life. Once. And I almost feel like terrible for that guy because it's like, your team is never good, like ever. Like, and they never will be. It's like being like a Pirates fan or somebody like that. Like, yeah, you get Paul Skeens and that's cool, but when's the last time the Pirates did anything? They got a really cool ballpark. They're a historical franchise. Like, it would just be, I think it would just be a lot better for the sport. We're getting to a level now. I just don't think that this is sustainable. And I love baseball, man. I do. But I think that the sport would benefit from, like I said before, like $100 million floor, $300 million cap. And then I'm sure it'll shift and move as time goes on. But start with that, because this is getting to a level now where it's just nuts. But the Mets, you know what? The Mets can afford it, man, because they had a lot of money come off their books. I know it's an insane contract, but the Mets can definitely do it.
Yeah, we'll see. It's gonna be an interesting night for sure. I think we're gonna have some news here shortly. Somebody says my kids are going to play baseball. We'll see. Anyway, I think Bill Madden's pretty reputable. He's been covering the sport for a long time, so I believe the $800 million. I mean, but it also could be, a lot of writers were fooled by the Ohtani flight heard around the world last year. Do you remember that, when he was headed to Toronto, or they thought he was headed to Toronto? It ended up being the dude from Shark Tank.
Oh yeah. I mean, there have been a ton of stuff, like John Heyman, the arson judge thing, where he lost his mind on the radio the other day about that. But I mean, sometimes I get fooled, man. Like,
I can't even believe it.
Even the Yankees, I remember, were saying that they thought they lost him when that tweet came out. So again, like I said, the only guys who really know what's going on are Juan Soto, Scott Boras, and the owners of these teams and like the general managers of these teams. That's really it. Everything else is speculation. We're not going to know for sure until the contract comes out. I do agree with you, Derek. I think that it's a reliable source that's reporting that, but it could be media manipulation. I don't know. Like, I don't want to get my hopes up or too disappointed until the news comes out.
Yeah.
I felt like he was going to go to the Mets when the offseason first started, just because I didn't think they'd get outspent. They had a lot of money coming off their books. But, hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully all of this is just wrong. Okay.
Yeah.
I wake up tomorrow morning and he's a Yankee. I don't know, man, but it doesn't look like that.
I agree with you. I just want this to be done with. We're coming up on an hour and 45 minutes in the stream. We've got over 2,000 people watching on between YouTube and X right now. 1,100 watching on YouTube. Reminder to like and subscribe. We're here after every single Yankees game. And also, we are the official Yankees podcast of the Foul Territory Network. So, once again, if you're new here, we're kind of a big deal. So, come back.
I just want to know. I just want to know at this point.
So many things like the not knowing is the worst. That's one of the reasons that true crime like really gets to people. Like, I just watched this John Benet Ramsey documentary on Netflix. Have you heard of that case?
I don't know, but I've seen a lot about the Menendez brothers.
Yeah, that we kind of know who did it. But there was this girl in the 90s, I believe it was 97 or 96. Her name is John Benet Ramsey. She was like 6 years old, and she was a little beauty pageant winner. And on Christmas morning or the day after Christmas, they found her dead in the basement, but there was this random like kidnapping note, and like everyone was a suspect, like everyone in the house was a suspect, but there's this random DNA that doesn't match anyone. And then there was like multiple people who admitted to it that didn't really do it, that the DNA didn't match, or that weren't like even in the state at the time. It's just one of these very, very weird cases. And it's just the not knowing that drives you absolutely nuts. And that's kind of how I feel. E-Rock 2020 says, "Go Guardians!" Yeah, great ALCS there, Guardians. They actually did play us pretty tough. They did play us pretty tough.
They did. And listen, they're always pretty competitive. I feel like they're always kind of lurking. They develop pitching really well, and they got a great player in Ramirez. So, I think that the Guardians was a terrible name change. That doesn't mean they shouldn't have changed the name. That's a different debate, but I think that was a terrible choice. They had to buy the rights from a professional roller skating team. Do you see that?
Did not.
There was already a Cleveland Guardians that existed. They were like a roller skating team. And the Guardians had to buy the rights to the name off of them.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Wow. We enter. We're coming up on hour number 2 here of our live stream, and we'll break any news as it comes. I'm going to go ahead and read through the Twitter account right now and see if there's anything new. Let's see. We got nothing new from any major baseball writers. Nothing from Bryan Hoch. Nothing from Jack Curry. I'm trying to keep an eye on like the major accounts. Jack Curry is somebody who always breaks these things. I think he broke the Garrett Cole news.
Yeah.
I'd imagine he's dialed in right now. So.
Yeah, I would think so as well. I'm constantly refreshing my Twitter. The Juan Soto is the number one trending thing on Twitter right now.
Is it?
Looking at Passan, Rosenthal, like all those guys. But no, I haven't seen anything. I don't know. I mean, I guess to me, I guess maybe the only way the Yankees do the 800 number is like they're like, you got to take some deferrals.
Maybe. I don't think there's any way they do the 800 number. I think they probably, if it's real, I think they probably huddled up and they said, okay, who can we get for 800? Corbin Burns, Santander, whoever else. But
I actually would rather Teoscar Hernandez than Santander. I think that's just me.
Yeah, maybe. I think Teoscar Hernandez is going back to the Dodgers. They love him there, and he stepped up in a big way this year. So, all right.
But
so
yeah, I think these are the offers, and then it's like we broke the record for the highest value. Do you want to be Yankee or not? And if he goes to the Mets for the extra $50 million, then he goes to the Mets.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, TK, I think we should wrap this up for now. I want to take a little bit of a rest here, and then if news breaks, I will be back. So stay tuned, everybody. Keep following all the accounts, all these major accounts, and stay tuned because we don't know what's going to happen, when it's going to shake out. Could happen any moment. Could happen at 2 a.m. But whenever it does, we will be live, even on a work night here. You'd hope that they want to get it wrapped up before everyone on the East Coast goes to bed, if he's going on the East Coast. So time to have a cup of coffee and get some food in me. And ladies and gentlemen, we will see you later tonight.
See you guys.
Ball game over. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like and give us a subscribe. It helps other Yankees fans find the channel. We're also on all your favorite podcast platforms and social media. Join the community, have some fun. We're here after every game. This is Pinstripe Territory.